Hi, everybody. Welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. A very special episode here of I'm joined by my guest today, Alison Klemp, host of, oh God, I forgot it. I'm the asshole. What was it? The verse? It was complicated.
The table verse.
The table verse. This is your podcast? What is it? The table verse.
It's a RPG podcast. So we play Starfinder. And it's, like sci-fi and space, very much.
Got it.
We have fun.
Got it. I like StarCraft. Is there any overlap in communities? Can we sit down at the same nerd table?
Yeah, I think, listen, all nerds are welcome. It's very much a like Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. So
nice.
We have fun.
Nice. So you're a New York comedian. I've actually known you for many years from Arizona. I don't know, actually. Did we meet in Arizona or did we meet in New York? I don't remember.
No, I think we met in New York.
Fascinating. But you're a U of A gal.
Yeah, I am.
You are. So you're my rival if either of us cared. I don't think we do. But you were telling me, this is interesting. Do you care? Are we going to fight?
I mean, really, no. But I like I enjoy the game of it. Kirsten Cinema, ASU grad, just saying.
Yeah, that's a fair diss. Well, isn't there I just saw this, like a billboard that said no pity for the kitty that ASU buys because the U of A logo is a wildcat. Frankly, I think it's embarrassing. I don't think it's a good look, but that's ASU culture.
It's not a good look. That could be their catchphrase. ASU.
It's not a good look. ASU. It's not a good look. It's just like, okay, we won. So do we really need to buy a billboard? It's like, honestly, a little sad. It's like we won. There's such a thing as a sore winner. That's really what it is for me.
That is true. And it's like, there's probably better things this money could have gone to. Just saying. Right.
So you were telling me, though, this is interesting. You're a practicing Buddhist. What does that mean?
It means that I practice Buddhism.
Thanks, Alison. Well, that's the show, everybody.
There we go. Thank you very much. I practice Nichiren Buddhism here in New York, but it's global. The practice started in Japan, and basically it means that I chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Oh my God! Yeah, it's like how I start my day. And it's if you've ever saw What's Love Got to Do with It, it's what Tina Turner does in the movie.
I haven't seen that. I'm very culturally illiterate. I'm so culturally illiterate, you can't even try to explain Buddhism with other cultural references. So my question, though, because Buddhism is obviously Buddha is a central figure, but you don't worship Buddha in Buddhism. It's not like Christianity in that sense.
Correct. Yeah. There's no like external. It's actually like the teaching is like if you're like seeking outside of yourself that you're doing it wrong. It's really all about just like drawing like power from within your own life. And that, we all, every person has, this unlimited potential within them. And it's, then it's just about the practice of, kind of bringing that better self out from within us. So you're really worshiping yourself. And like people think about Buddhism as like a very selfless, religion, which is true, but also you are the central figure. So in that way, it's perfect for me.
Interesting. So, but you're telling me that it's not actually self-centered. It's actually, so when you're saying these chants, is it to set a tone for the day of self-empowerment, or is it a tone of like, I'm going to give today, I'm going to help others?
I mean, it kind of varies, it's really, I guess, whatever you're, personally challenging at that time. Sometimes I'm chanting, maybe if there's someone I know who's like sick or struggling, maybe I'm chanting for them. Maybe I'm chanting for like myself to be like, let me, do really well at whatever I'm trying to do that day or an overarching goal. You can chant for anything.
So it's kind of like prayer. That sounds like a prayer to me. You're praying for others, praying for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when we chant, it's like you're aligning yourself essentially with the universe. And so it's just essentially like put yourself on the best path in order to, grow and, change whatever you need to change in your life and, achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
So personally, it's not my cup of tea, but I think for me, I never hear no one say any shit about the Buddhists. The Buddhists never killed nobody. So it seems is there anything to that? Buddhism is very like benign.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like the whole purpose of it is to, try to make the world a happy place, basically.
Mm,
So it's like, I mean, listen, anybody can get mad at anything, is also the reality of this world. And, nobody's perfect. So it's not like I practice Buddhism, but it doesn't mean that I'm, hitting it on all tens every time, like we're still human.
right. But it's
I
helpful
have
for
plenty
you.
of days where I am the asshole, so.
Okay, so Buddhism doesn't prevent you from being an asshole. Well, that's a shame. I could have gone with it. It's interesting. I actually read a very Buddhist book, Tibetan Buddhist book, and it got kind of into this like everything is inter-r, like everything is linked, and everyone is kind of the same person. Like you are someone else. And then the example they used, he goes, imagine a ship of pirates, and on the pirates ship, they're raping a woman. And then he's like, you are the pirates. And I was like, okay, like, does this need to be the example? And I was just like,
hey, bro, why was this the first thing you jumped to?
it was weird. It was really weird. And then he's like, you are the woman. And I was like, oh, okay, I see where you're going. But like, this is like a lot for a Buddhist book.
Yeah, that's kind of an extreme example.
Yeah, it was just a lot to
You could
lead
have gone with
into.
like you're getting mugged or something. Like,
Right, like you're the mugger. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's not crazy. I could steal something if I was desperate.
sure.
So okay, so that's good. I'm for Buddhism. I think it's great. Now, let me ask you this though. You're into fish. I don't know if I'm going to be able to come on board for this. So the premise of a fish concert is you go on acid and listen to a band bomb for 5 hours. Is that roughly?
I mean, I wouldn't say that they bomb.
I know.
I
Well,
guess it's
people
a
love
matter
them.
of yes, people love them very much.
But there is, and I say bomb obviously in the sense of like their audiences love them, so it's literally not a bomb. But the music is very long winded. The songs are 20 minutes. Is that what? So what's that about?
They can be
Okay.
sometimes, not every time. They have some shorter 4-minute songs as well. But yeah, they like to jam. So like they'll do the song and then they'll go into a little jam land, and then they come back and then
So,
it keeps going.
but do you love the jam? Is that part of the appeal? Because you're going like, oh, this is like improvise, it's
hmm
live, or what? Yeah, what is the appeal of the jam?
It's very much like in the sense of like it makes each show a little bit unique.
That's cool.
They never play the same song like 2 shows in a row, or like if they're in a city for multiple nights, like they won't play the same song in a run. They have a huge catalog, so the people will like chase songs, like they'll try, oh, I want to run like an antelope or whatever, and then hope that they get that song at the show they go to, which also just adds to the excitement element. So a little bit like gambling.
Interesting. So, and then are there people too who will go to all the shows, just every single one?
There are some people who do that, yeah.
And why do you think? Because like Fish is an old band,
Yeah,
like Fish's heyday was not in our youths,
no.
right? So why is it so enduring?
It's I get so much joy when I am at a Fish show, and it's just to me it's a unique concert experience because I don't get this vibe at a lot of other concerts, but it's like it's very communal. I don't know how it's going to be post COVID. It gives me a lot of anxiety
Mm.
to think about, but it's like you're in a place where there's tens of thousands of people usually who they are just there to have the best time possible, and they want you to have the best time possible. So it's just very positive vibes. And, I've taken I really get a big kick out of popping people's fish cherries. So I've taken a lot of people to their first fish show, including Nate, my fiance's parents. They came to a show a few years ago, which was very
Wow.
fun. And they had fun, so smoked a little weed with my future mother-in-law, which I think is important to do.
I think that is important. I love that relationship. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congrats. I think that's a big achievement.
Yeah. And I have friends who, they don't live locally, but, try to meet up with them at shows over like the summer. And then it's like, it's very, communal and kind of family vibes.
So then there's also the Grateful Dead, and they're a jam band. Is there overlap between these audiences, or no? It's just they both jam in the same manner.
I would definitely say there's overlap, especially for like, older fans who maybe were like around for both of the heydays. I would say there's not any contention really that I know of between the Fish world and the Grateful Dead world. It's a pretty strong Venn diagram, but like Fish fans tend to feel more contentious towards like bands like Widespread Panic and like Dave Matthews Band, which are, I guess, just because they're more like contemporaries with Fish. And Grateful Dead was more like, the previous generation.
Interesting. There's people getting angry about jam bands. Is that you're telling me there's contention there?
Yeah, I mean, there are Fish fans who get angry. If some of the most diehard Fish fans, like if you see them at a show, you're like, do you like this band? Because they'll get like so mad about like, oh, they're playing the song. They always play the song. I'm so sick of it. I want to hear this other song. And it's just like they're just like angrily blogging on like their Fish blog the whole time. It's really an interesting people experience.
What a fascinating culture. Now, you tweeted recently that you wrote, quote, if you don't tip in 2020, you would have owned slaves in 1820, which is a funny joke.
Thank you.
My question for you is this. So you've worked in the service industry.
Mm-hmm.
I like to check in. I'm running my tip numbers here. I think I've cranked them up pretty high, largely due to the listenership of this podcast. 25% in when I'm dining at a place, 10% on pickup. Uber, I'm still not really tipping the Uber. Tell me, are these sins?
I think you should probably tip your Uber, as long as he hasn't, committed any crimes against you. To my knowledge,
15%
I'm not sure
on the Uber. What's the Uber?
I usually do 20, but I'm not honestly sure if there's like a supposed to be. I don't know what they make as like a base pay. Like I don't know how much of their percentage of their income is like dependent on the tips. But maybe the listeners will let us know.
Yeah, let us know, people. I will begin tipping the Uber. I mean, you know what? I do it sometimes, but not as a rule. And I know why. It's because there's no social pressure. If I'm out eating with a gal, she's going to see if I tip 0% or whatever. Plus, like I've grown up my whole life tipping minimum 15%. Uber, the opposite. I did not tip on Uber because, it was like, I forget, like this, it didn't even prompt you to tip for a while.
Right.
So I've become sort of, I mean, this is an excuse, obviously, but I think
they added the tipping probably as an excuse to pay them less.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, and that's the other aspect of tipping, which is kind of ironic, is that it's actually a shitty system and you're kind of playing into the system, but then it's like, if you don't, then you're an asshole. So
yeah, I mean, it is literally rooted in slavery. So it's a bad system.
Are you gonna double down on that? Is that true? Tipping rooted in slavery?
It's 100%. No, it's 100% true. It started in the Reconstruction era as a way for people to not pay, newly freed slaves who were mostly working in like service type jobs, like housework and things like that.
No way. Mm-hmm. That's terrible. That's terrible. Just that it originated that way is like so offensive. It's like, really, we're using the same system that was the result of okay, all right, we're still going with this.
Well, it's like, hey, how come America has a tipping culture and literally no other countries in the world have this tipping culture? Well, not that we're the only country in the world that had slavery, obviously, but we have a very special relationship with our slavery. So
yeah, I mean, I want to know more about this, but it's something we've touched on, is like racism in other countries. Obviously, it's a thing, but it plays out in a unique way in America. I don't necessarily know if it's the worst here. Obviously, there's plenty of racist, horrible countries, but like it just, yeah, like that is so crazy to me. Our unique tipping culture is from slavery. It's terrible. It's like unbelievable.
America, baby.
America. All right, people. Well, we got one heck of an ep for you today. Allison, you said you're ADHD, so I got some ADHD stuff.
Lovely.
But I kind of, our third situation of the day, AITA for being confrontational with a woman being rude to my kid at an outdoor concert. Our second story, AITA for turning a neighbor's ableist argument against them and cussing in front of our kids. But first, I found this, I had to do a Buddhism situation. I just found this right now and I was like, we got to do a Buddhism. It's too juicy. So this has 0 upvotes. So who knows what we're in for. AITA for warning my cousin about Buddhism. Oh boy. Oh boy. My cousin has lived her entire life in the Western world. And like many Westerners, she has become interested in Eastern philosophy and begun to believe in a fetishized, idealistic version of it. The other day, she was talking to me and discussed how she wanted to convert to Buddhism and accordingly adopt its practices, including meditation. And I was concerned and told her that meditation is usually only practicable by low IQ individuals, as high IQ minds require constant enrichment and are always seeking new ways to apply themselves, and therefore cannot be satisfied sitting idly for prolonged periods, focusing on literally nothing. But warned, wow, this is all one sentence high IQ over here. But warned that like drug use, meditation can be appealing to high IQ people by causing momentary stress relief, usually at the cost of their IQ, leaving practitioners permanently crippled intellectually without the ability to apply themselves in ways that even those with average IQs can. My cousin became very upset, apparently taking it as a personal insult because she's interested in meditation, and did not calm down when I explained that I was only concerned for her well-being.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This person is very attached to their IQ, and since Buddhism does teach, releasing of attachments, I think maybe that could be something they might want to pursue. Oh my gosh. I want to know what the fetishized idealistic version of Buddhism. I think that's just Buddhism.
Right, like that's the funny thing about Eastern philosophy is like you can kind of call it lame or whatever, say you think it's boring, but like you really can't attack it. Like it doesn't have any kind of there hasn't been like a Buddhist like genocide. Like the Buddhists really never mess with nobody.
Well, except for we don't have to talk about Myanmar, but
oh really? Myanmar? What happened there?
Oh, they had the military coup. That was in the news kind of recently. They had a military coup that ousted the whatever president leader. I don't know what their leader is called. Who kind of hadn't really been the military was basically running things sort of behind the scenes anyway. But they've been this is a bummer, but they've been ethnically cleansing the ethnic Muslim population.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's not good. And I don't know, for the record, this is not the Buddhism that I practice, but I'm not super informed on the details of it, but I know that it's like a Buddhist country, quote unquote. But anything can be bastardized is also, important.
Of course. Yeah.
Note.
I mean,
yeah.
I think it's a silly way to attack, any religion, solely on that. But obviously, if it keeps happening and it's over and over, then you're like, clearly this is the religion's fault. But people can corrupt anything. But I had a very pristine view of Buddhism, so I'm gonna have to, retract that. But listen, every response on the subreddit is that this is a shit post. I feel like there is a truth here, though, even if this person is just trolling, and I suspect that they are, but there are a lot of people who are very fixated on their IQ online. And that's interesting to me.
I feel like that's people who scored high on an IQ test when they were young and then didn't amount to much. And then I feel like it's if you maybe feel bad about a lot of things in your life, you're like going to hold on really tight to that IQ score. You know, like the only other person, the first person that I think of when I'm like, who talks a lot about IQ, the first person I think is Donald Trump, because who as an adult ever talks about IQ?
It has like no relevance. It's not, it's literally completely trivial knowledge. It has no application in any context
Yeah,
besides
it's
joining Mensa, but
right, but who wants to hang out with those nerds? Um,
yeah,
like
nobody's ever said that like, oh, I wish I could be in Mensa. They're having a lot of fun. They're
who is
not.
it? There's a comedian, I forget who it is, but there's a female comedian who like joined Mensa as a joke. Do you know who it?
That sounds familiar.
I've
Yes,
definitely
yes.
like she like applied or whatever as a joke and then like got in.
Oh my God. I'm sure
uh,
they'd love to have a female among them.
I know, I think it's never happened before.
Yeah, I mean, I think the actual kind of premises of this post are, you know, plainly absurd. It's just like, I don't know, it's such a reductionist view of meditation. It's just not how brains work. I mean, it's like saying exercise makes you stupider. You could easily run any myriad of arguments about walking makes you stupider because you're not actively engaged. It's like,
Right.
okay.
It's like, okay.
Just,
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like this person, I don't know. It's like, why do you even care if the cousin is meditating? You know, like, how does it affect your life at all?
yeah, I don't know. I don't see, that's what I don't understand. This is like a troll post, but I'm like, what's the intent behind this? Like, it's not a good like satire. It's not insulting toward Buddhism. I mean, it is insulting of Buddhism, but it's so bad and like invalid that it's just like, no, just no.
Yeah, it's hard to take this person seriously.
Yeah, I think this one is like not even worth delving into further. AITA for warning my cousin about Buddhism. I think we agree. YTA, you're an insane person. Hey,
YTIP.
YTIP, AITA for turning a neighbor's ableist argument against them and cussing in front of our kids. I have autism and so does my son. A friend has made casual comments for years about how autism isn't real. It's overdiagnosed. Only children have it, and teens, adults with autism are just using it as an excuse to not grow up. Wow.
Oh,
Okay. Lots of trolls. The trolls are out today, and that autism is the result of bad parenting. The list goes on. The closest I've seen to him backing down is when one of his teenage sons called him on it in front of me and told his dad what autism actually is, listing symptoms, at which his dad declared that, quote, in that case, we're all a bit autistic, and spent a few months telling anyone who'd listen that he's autistic too. Anyone who's dealt with someone like this before, sorry, I know you, blood pressure already hit the roof, but earlier today, I was straight up done with it. My son and a few other neighbors are outside, all appropriately distanced and having a chat. My son is stimming with one hand, a sort of one-handed clap he does when he's excited, which helps him manage symptoms. One of our neighbors who doesn't know he's autistic, asks about the stimming and other more obvious symptoms. And the autism neighbor answers before my son can, telling nice neighbor that apparently my son is autistic before launching into a monologue about how autism isn't a real thing. Nothing personal to my kid. He's a nice boy. But if I'd done a better job raising him, he wouldn't have his symptoms, and that autism didn't exist when he was growing up.
mm.
My son looks like he's about to cry, and after 9 years of this crap, I'm just done with it. So without really thinking, I lean into the convo and tell him autism's existed forever. Neighbor, we just didn't know about it till recently. It's the same reason we used to shoot soldiers with PTSD for cowardice and kill people with epilepsy for being possessed by demons. No, his teenage son has epilepsy, which I know about. Your personal ignorance in the face of modern knowledge doesn't prove or disprove shit, and I don't know why you're so proud of the fact that your brain is still running 50 years behind the rest of the world. Not gonna lie, I was proud of that. I thought it was a decent burn, and I actually managed to get all the words out in their intended order. I'm not usually an eloquent speaker. Well, everyone's mad. Neighbors are mad because I swore. Note, the youngest person there was my son, who's 12 and cusses like a sailor. Everyone else present were teens and adults. Others thought I overreacted. Others think autism neighbor has a valid point, and even the ones who agree with my point think I was an asshole in my delivery. Son's mad that I embarrassed him. Autism neighbor is mad at being called out and blames me for the fact that he's now fighting with his epileptic son, who apparently is the only one who thinks I'm right, and his dad needed the takedown. The kid literally knocked on my door to tell me as much, and now autism neighbor is mad about that too. AITA.
Ooh. Oh my.
Yeah, I searched ADHD and this is what came up. Now there's no ADHD in this post even, but whew, it's a doozy.
Well, ADHD and autism both are considered neurodivergent, and there tends to be some overlap. Um, so,
Interesting. Oh, I never heard that.
yeah, neurodivergent and neurotypical are like the terms for, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard those terms. I didn't think ADHD and autism were sort of related at all, but I guess it's not too surprising.
Yeah, they're like not too far away from each other on the spectrum. And there's a lot of people who have autism who also have ADD, vice versa. And like some of the symptoms can have overlap, like the stimming thing. Like if an ADHD person, it might, just be like tapping your leg a lot or something. Autism, I think, has more of a range of symptoms with that. But yeah,
Right.
it's usually something like similar, like is described in the post. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so let's just go through what happened here. They're all out. First of all, this neighbor is already being very rigid. I don't like his rigidity off the bat. It's like there's certain things where it's like if you're going to be kind of a hard ass about it and like say autism doesn't exist to someone who has autism, like that's honestly fine. Like you don't need to be an asshole. Like they could be someone who believes that, there's tiny threads growing out of their skin, which is another like, mental, like, well, that's like a delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, this person's crazy. But it's like just bringing this up is inept, like, why are you coming at them? That's obviously part of their identity and part of what they believe, even though I think autism is real. But I'm just saying,
Right.
generally, like, why does he have to go there?
To call out the neighbor.
Yeah, like I think I don't know. I like to look at things from the point of view of like not assuming everyone necessarily has the same beliefs. Like for instance, if you're anti-vax, obviously that's I think you're wrong and that's bullshit. But it's like I don't have to hate you because you're my anti-vax neighbor. Just don't bring that shit up, And in this case, just by bringing it up, it's kind of offensive because it's like, yeah, like you're not just ignorant, you're kind of denying like my reality, like.
Right. And also, it's like it involves a kid, which makes it kind of even more dickish because it's like, if it's like, hey, we're two adults and we disagree about something, that's one thing. But it's like in the post, it was like, this is an adult making fun of a 12-year-old. It's just like, come on, man.
Right. And then it's like I don't understand why this neighbor is so obsessed with autism. Honestly, that's what this reads like. It's like he's obsessed because it's like now he's going on this talking point. Like, why is this a talking point for you, bro?
Right.
Like if you don't think it's real, then why you got to keep bringing it up? And then he declares that he's autistic. And it's just like bizarre. It's like, what's going on? Like, are you starving for an identity? I don't understand why he's like so fixated on this issue, which is hurting his neighbor's feelings.
Yeah, and I feel like I keep going back to the whole like they didn't have autism when I was growing up, and it's like I feel like that kind of tells you everything you need to know about this guy. Like this is Mr. Back in my day, and it's just like, okay, bro, like they didn't have cell phones when you were growing up either. Do you not think cell phones are real? Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah, he's ignorant. He's caught in the past.
and he's like, it's not even just that he's ignorant; he's like proudly ignorant, which is like, okay, I don't know where do you go with that? Like, how do you? I imagine this guy probably gets into a lot of arguments with people that he does not know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason he's glommed on does have to do with ego, because the other way he's kind of angling this is making it into OP's fault. He's kind of trying to suggest that he's a better dad. So it
Right.
actually seems like this whole autism thing, his whole beliefs about autism, is just a rationalization that he's kind of constructed to make him feel better about being a shitty father.
Right. Like if your own kid is like rooting against you when you're getting, chewed out, I feel like, I don't know, are you a great father? Because your kid seems to disagree.
Right. Well, he's also apparently denying epilepsy, right? Or what did he say? The neighbor's son is epileptic.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, the neighbor's son is epileptic, and then OP brought up the point about how we used to not know what epilepsy was.
Okay, so the dad does believe that epilepsy exists. He's not totally out to
right.
lunch.
I think, and it's also like it's so annoying to me whenever like when people change the narrative to be like, oh my God, you said a curse word. And it's like, okay, so what? Like we're all adults here. They say that word on television. Like it becomes like a straw man argument, and it's actually something that I personally deal with a lot because like when I'll be arguing with someone and then like the second if I like curse or something at them, then they're like, oh my God, this language, so disrespectful. And then like the whole basis of the actual argument we were having flies out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, I mean, like slightly like if you use a slur, then it does hit a kind of a red, like instant red alert.
Right.
But when it's just a cuss word, it's
The
like,
word shit. Like,
that's not an offense. Like, who is offended by that word? That's ridiculous. It's like, I think though, I'm wondering if that's not sort of the basis of them kind of using that. It's like they think they can get away with reacting like that. And it's like, you're not having this reaction to the word shit. Nobody is offended by the word shit. You've been shitting your whole life. You're fine.
right.
Like, so it's almost like they're acting like it has hate or anything else with it. And it's like, no, it's like literally a pronoun the way we use shit.
Yeah. It's like not even like doesn't have any like derogatory like basis. So it's like,
and it's like if he called the guy a piece of shit, that would be different. But it's not even the way he said your personal ignorance in the face of modern knowledge doesn't prove or disprove shit. Like he's not even taking a shot at him.
right, exactly.
I
So,
found this ignorance is another word that I've found upsets people. And it's like if someone's calling you ignorant, like the way to counter that is to just be like, no, I'm acknowledging what you're saying and I agree with what you're saying. Or like not I agree with you, but like I fully acknowledge the facts that you're saying and accept them. But they never would say that. They just go, you called me ignorant. You called me ignorant. I'm like, yes, you're literally ignoring the facts I'm telling you. That's why I'm using that word. It's not a judgment. That's just what's happening.
yeah. And I feel like people like they hear the word ignorant and they think like, oh, you're calling me stupid. But like those are two different things. Like
Totally different.
a very smart person can be ignorant on like a specific subject if they just like don't know anything about that subject. And
Absolutely.
So yeah, but
Absolutely.
maybe this guy's stupid. But it's also maybe this guy's stupid and ignorant.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I just think OP hasn't really committed any sins. And like, I don't like that the neighbors I don't like how they're taking sides. Like, this is so offensive and they're really failing to deploy any empathy. I mean, I guess they don't necessarily know the whole backstory. So like, if they just walked in on this kind of meltdown monologue, it is like, whoa, Jim is kind of losing his shit. But like this neighbor has been running this kind of autism argument on him over and over. It's clearly very grating. It's completely socially inept. And it is on top of all that wildly ignorant. So,
and it's like if OP had cancer instead of autism and the neighbor was like, cancer isn't real, you just need to drink green juice, which is like a thing that some people say, like, people would not be like, oh my God, he has a point. You should hear him out. Like, you need to respect his views. It's like, no, he's like being offensive to my face about the disease that I have. Like, just keep it to yourself, Like, if you think that, fine. Just like, don't say it to my face.
Right. I think it's recognizing that, minimization can be offensive, right? Because that's kind of minimizing cancer. And it's like that might be what you think, but like you got to realize that if you think cancer is such a one-shot solution, like juice it up, dog, you're good to go. Like you can't really bring that emotional energy to something that's so heavy or it's going to be offensive. And that can be true about anything. It's just like don't minimize other people's shit. Like just let them have it and don't talk about it if that's what you think. It's not hard.
Right. Like everybody has their own shit and people experience it to different degrees, and it's just like, and I feel like even just like the little bit that the OP, kind of shine that back on his neighbor by bringing up the epilepsy, I think really shows that because it's like if OP was started going to his neighbor and being like, I don't think epilepsy is real, the neighbor would get super pissed. So just gotta have that empathy for others, man. And it sucks too when you have that, like when you land the bird on someone like exactly how you wanted to say it, and then everyone just gets mad at you. Like that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I feel that in terms of actual conflict resolution, this is probably not the best way to go. Like, I don't even know why. I mean, fuck this neighbor so much. Like, I would just be like, yo, dude, you're just not welcome in my life. Like, we don't need to have problems, but like you're just I don't want to see you anymore because this is hurting me. Like, so that's it. But like I guess I don't know how to like get someone to move on something like this short of saying it, but I also don't think that delivering this like kind of like huge blow is going to solve the problem really. Like I honestly think the problem is to just be like, get out of my life.
Yeah, but it also seems no, I mean it's definitely not it's not conflict resolution, definitely, but I think the way he writes the post, it kind of, or I assume it's a guy. Did he say that?
Yeah.
Okay. The way that he writes the post, it kind of makes it seems like he hasn't really stood up to the neighbor maybe in the past. So maybe this is like the first time that he's like really pushed back on the guy. But,
Right. Yeah.
and
I mean,
that,
I don't, yeah.
yeah. And I think like going forward, it would be like, I think the best thing to do would just be like, hey, I think we know how we each feel about this, and it's best that we just don't interact,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't blame him for having this blow up. I just wanted to think about if, look, you never want to let anything really bubble into a blow up. You want to catch it early. You want to confront someone early and either agree to like never talk about it or just not cut that person out of your life. That's really what I was saying. I think we see eye to eye on this one, though. AITA for turning a neighbor's ableist argument against them and cussing in front of our kids. NTA and the neighbor is.
Yeah. Also, I'm worried about the neighbor's kid a little bit.
Same. Unempathetic, ignorant father. Not great. All right, we're going to wrap up here on AITA for being confrontational with a woman being rude to my kid at an outdoor concert. I was at a classic rock cover concert. We sat about 2 football fields from the stage. Until the older couple sat in front of us, we were about a half football field or slightly more away from the nearest people. Okay, so that's context. All right, so the older couple sat in front of us, and we were a half football field away from the nearest. That's far. Okay.
It's pretty far.
Since the pandemic began, my wife and I have stayed at home as much as possible and kept our toddler home, other than to a few family members' homes who have been careful as well. We've all been getting a little stir crazy and wanted to find something safe to do outside of our home. This past Friday, our town had a free outdoor concert in a large park where keeping distance from others was easy. We arrived near the start of the show, and it was already fairly populated. We had our almost 3-year-old son in a stroller with a few toys to keep him entertained until the music began. Since he's a talkative kid, we made a conscious effort to move far to the side of the field and partially uphill to avoid sitting too close to folks where his talking and general noise would disturb them. We both agree that toddlers in public can be distracting, so it was important to us to find a place far enough away to hear the music without our son interrupting. About a half hour into the concert, things are great, music's fun, weather's nice, and the cabin fever is lifting. An older couple in perhaps their 60s walk toward us from the crowd and sets up their chairs about 10 feet in front of us. Tons of room close to the stage and on either side of us to set up the chairs, but no big deal, plenty of space for social distancing. By this time, our son is getting animated, playing with his trucks and the stroller, vroom, vroom, beep, beep, burr, burr. You get the picture. The older couple looks over their shoulders a few times, and I get the hint. I ask the kiddo to keep it down. He smiles and agrees for a little while. He's pretty quiet, but like any kid, over time, the volume gradually increases. Off and on, the old couple look back at us when he is noisy, and I tell him to quiet down a bit. Eventually, the older lady in front of us turns around and asks, "How old is your son?" To which I said, "Almost 3." She replies that he's old enough to shut up when you ask him to. He's ruining the music for us. Oh my God. I was instantly pissed beyond belief, so I asked her, "How old are you?" Oh my God, that's so funny. That is the funniest thing. She tells me she's 68, so I say, "Then you're old enough not to be an asshole to a toddler. Move your stuff or don't talk to us. Either is fine." From
Boom.
that point, I let my son play as loudly as he wanted, but since everyone but the old couple in front of us were too far away to hear, we'd already tried to be out of the way, but it's like they sought us out to piss and moan about a noisy toddler. It eventually pissed them off until they packed up their chairs and moved. The whole damn thing just put a dampener on our day out. So, am I the asshole?
Oh, man. I mean, it's not like they were on a plane, Like,
It's so ridiculous. You're at an outdoor concert, like
you're in a giant park. Like, here's what I do if I'm out in public and I see maybe a noisy little kid that I don't want to be near. I walk away from that child.
Right, right. And this is like clearly that situation. There's plenty of room. It's like they settled on a place and the place didn't work. So move.
This is like when you're on the subway and there's a ton of empty seats and then someone sits in the seat like right next to you and it's like, why, bro? Like you could go over there. Like even before COVID, it's like we don't have to sit this close for no reason.
Yeah, it's well, I'm sure like I've heard stories. This happens to women a lot. Just creepy guys being near you. It's got to be terrifying.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, my friend actually told me a story once that happened to her. It was on the Boston subway, the T, and a man did that, like sat somewhat close to her, and then got close to her, like as the stops progressed.
Mm.
And it was the kind of thing where like she could sense it, and it was getting really uncomfortable. Like he was like now right next to her, and so it was getting close to her stop, and one stop before her stop she had the urge to fart, and she like farted a huge fart, and the guy pieced. It worked. He got the fuck out of Dodge. Oh my god.
The old skunk technique. I like it.
I mean, it's a last resort, but I mean, what a beautiful solution.
OP could have tried that.
Yeah, yeah, right. Just farted on the old people.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't say, I mean, I guess almost 3, it's hard to know if the kid is potty trained yet, but, you know, if the kid's still in diapers, that could have,
Right.
that situation could have solved itself. Just like, oh, we got one in the chamber.
Right, drop a stinker. Deleted comment. Someone wrote, NTA, was this concert so quiet you could hear a toddler screaming? Seriously, how is that possible?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe a lame concert.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I guess it was a little town. This was no Fish concert, people. Let me say.
I mean, and what does it say? It's classic rock. It's not like it's like a, like classical music. If it's like an orchestra, I could be like, okay, maybe, you know, that's not appropriate, but
Right. It's an
what are they?
unamplified guy playing one of those little fork instruments that's just like little prongs that you.
Yeah, just like was covering Jimi Hendrix, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like clearly you just need to move, lady. Gemma the Doodle writes, NTA, you were there first. They sat in front of you. It sounds like you went to a secluded area. Yeah, like this is ridiculous. There's no like it's such a simple solution, and then the expectations are so ridiculous. Like it's not a library.
Yeah, you're outside. One time a lady yelled at me. I was like on the phone having an argument and like in Midtown Manhattan, so it's like already noisy. And I was like stepped like off the sidewalk like in between two parked cars, and this lady like walks up to me, similar age, and was just like, "You're being too loud." And I'm like, "Then just keep walking." Like it's an easy solution. Like what?
Oh my god, people just trying to have any little morsel of power they can hold on to. I mean,
And that's such a great, like, I was not expecting I was like, oh, sweet old lady, can you get your kid to shut up? I was like, oh my gosh. But
I
sometimes
mean,
I think old people don't have a lot of interaction. And so I think, like, sometimes I think people would just start arguments just because they need to have some kind of human interaction and maybe they don't have the emotional capability to just say hello.
it's not a bad theory. I think another angle on this is that in COVID, there's like a layer of uncontrol in our lives. People are out of control. They feel controlled. Like I had a roommate who was setting like these ridiculous rules for me, and then like kind of being hypocritical on her end. Like she freaked out because I had 2 friends over, and I was like, literally, those are the only 2 people I see. Like, does this need to be a capital case? And then she was selling her furniture on Craigslist, and people came into the house, and I was
Mm.
like, what the hell? And my friend had pointed out, he's like, I think that's just about control. You know, like no one can choose what to do right now. I mean, things are slowly getting better, and so it's like we just want to exert any control we can.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I mean, especially like early in the pandemic when, you know, I mean, I guess masks are still controversial, but like when it was like just starting to become a thing, I was guilty of it where I would like walk up to people on the street and be like, "What's wrong with you? Like, do you want us all to die?" And like, you know, and then I'd be like, "This is not healthy or safe or like good to
Right,
do."
right.
And it was like, "This is just because I'm freaking out." Yeah, it's like you said, like it's like to feel like even if you're freaking out and being an asshole, it's like I'm choosing to be an asshole and like to have that, like, to feel like you have some kind of authority in the situation.
Right. I think we agree on this one. AITA for being confrontational with a woman being rude to my kid at an outdoor concert. I think we would say NTA and the old people were.
Yeah.
Allison,
Pretty
thank you
cut
so
and dry.
pretty cut and dry. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys can follow Allison on Twitter at Alison Klemp, 1L in the Allison, KLEMP. That's Alison Klemp. And then on the Tableverse, which is your podcast on all platforms.
Yep. Check it out. So we just launched a Discord as well, so people can check us out there. And we're going to start recording new episodes really soon.
Sounds great. Well, thanks so much. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.